Hi. Hi,
Hi.
everybody. It is Sharleen Linton, and I am the host and the vocal alchemist for Vocal Code Conversations. Welcome, welcome. We have an amazing guest with me today. I'm going to be introducing her in a little bit. If you are on the socials, I am on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Sharleen, the Vocal Alchemist. And if you are on YouTube, now is the time to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you get all the notifications for when I post new stuff. As a vocal alchemist, I am attuned and gifted to help performers, public speakers, singers, signed artists all around the world to make amazing impact with their voice. I help you with vocal training and stamina and agility, and I also help you to have the confidence, the authenticity, the magnetism, and the authority to create a vision that you like and love using your speaking voice and using your singing voice. Today, I have the amazing Brenda Gabriel with me. She is somebody that I've known in the online space for a very long time. We've only met once, but we felt like we knew each other when we met each other because we've been in each other's virtual company for so long. Brenda Gabriel is an amazing public relations and media strategist. She facilitates people who are already influencers or are becoming influencers that have this amazing impact. And what you guys did not see and do not know is the amazing gems that fall out of her mouth, even concerning me and my business, that I've got a ton of notes on my lap about. So thank you again for your amazing input. I respect you, I trust you, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Honestly, even just listening to your own intro about yourself, I'm like, yes, she's owning it. I love it. I love it. So no, it's awesome. Yeah. And people, if you haven't already hired Sharleen and you're a performer or a singer, then what are you doing? Like, sort your life out.
One thing actually that I didn't say is that as a vocal alchemist, and for the viewers out there, I'm attuned to hear what's called a vocal code, hence the name of this interview series, Vocal Code Conversations. And what a vocal code is the collection of energetic frequencies within your speaking voice and singing voice. So when I hear people speak, I hear the energy and I can see shapes, and I can also hear characteristics and belief systems. And what I help my clients to do is to really align themselves at the back end, which is the mindset end, to help them align themselves to the vision that they wish to create. It doesn't matter how good you are a singer. It doesn't matter how great you are at speaking. You need to get aligned. So with your permission today, Brenda, I would love to read your vocal code, if that's okay with you.
I would love that. Thank you.
Awesome. And just to get a real insight into your own belief structure and your characteristics that have helped you to get here. So what I would really love to know, there's so much to know and there's so much to talk about, but what I would love to know first and foremost is, as someone who's in PR, someone who's in the media, you're not necessarily using your voice on a stage, but you are using your voice in regards to social media, writing posts, maybe if you do video content, you are using your voice to support and facilitate your clients. So what I want to know is the journey that you have observed within yourself of using your voice. Have you always been confident with using your voice to facilitate? I want to know about what that journey has been for you.
That is an excellent question, Sharleen. You're really good at this. So no, the short answer to that question is no, I haven't always been confident with my voice. And I have the feeling that part of the reason that I advocate and facilitate on behalf of others is because I once wasn't able to do it for myself. And I've always personally found it easier to advocate for others than I have for myself. And I think that quite a lot of women can identify, maybe even women of color can identify with feeling that way. So in terms of my journey as a child, I remember being quite a quiet child, because I had I didn't have domineering parents, but I had I had a mum who was very sort of, I don't know, I don't know, she had her own sort of ways of navigating life and stuff. And so I never wanted to upset my mum, right? So in case, you know, she got upset with me. And then there was my dad, who was wanted me to become very, very independent, but in some ways that would come across as him being mean, because I'm only a little child. So I'm like, oh, my dad's being mean. But, you know, obviously as I've grown older, I realized that he just wanted me to become very independent and be able to stand up for myself and all of those things. But unfortunately, this wanting to stand up for myself kind of went the other way, because I always felt like I just wanted to retreat into my shell more. So I actually navigated my way through life, through youth, even into my teens, as being quite quiet. So I was quite academic, but I was quite quiet, and I wouldn't stand up for myself. I was scared of the idea of getting into a fight with anybody. I didn't like confrontation of any sort. And so, yeah, I spent most of my life sort of being that person. And then it was when I got into the working world, there were a couple of instances that happened. One to a friend that I'd had at work. And I saw one of the things that I didn't like was unfairness. So I don't like unfairness in any situation. I'm very passionate about justice. So when this situation happened to a friend where they were going to make her redundant, but give a job to somebody else, I stepped in. I did some research, because I already had like a legal interest. I did some research and I found out that what they were doing was illegal. And so I went with her, armed with this paperwork, to tell them, like, this is illegal. You can't do this. And if you do it, we're going to take you to a tribunal. Of course, that, you know, they hated me for that. However, what did happen is that my friend actually, they gave her a better paid job. They still gave a job to somebody else, but they gave my friend a better paid job. They didn't get rid of her. She got a pay rise. They did try and get rid of me after that, but I left before that could all come about. But I think that was the first time that I'd ever really seen in my life the power of actually advocating on behalf of somebody else, and how powerful it could be. And actually, you know, even just little old me, who didn't know anything about anything, could go up against this, you know, this relatively big organization and say, no, we're not having that, and do that. And honestly, it was like the first time that I really saw the power of being able to, you know, speak up for somebody, speak up for yourself.
That's so interesting. And as you're talking, everything that I've already discerned about your vocal code makes complete sense. More about that in a second, because what I really want to know is, after years of feeling like you needed to be more quiet, what was the moment for you when you were like, well, actually, I want to speak, I want to advocate? Because it takes a decision, and I want to hear more about that.
Okay. So I think that experience I just told you about didn't feel like a decision was made. It was just, at that time, it was like, this is ridiculous, like, this can't happen. And then after that, I don't think it's any coincidence, I ended up, the next job I had after that experience was working for the CPS, because I then wanted to become legally qualified, and I wanted to become a lawyer. I think actually that was probably the turning point, where I was like, actually, I'd like to become a lawyer, and I'd like to make sure that these situations don't happen to other people ever again. And then I left and I joined the civil service, and I never actually did become a lawyer. I thought about training, but I always remained in the sort of operational side of things. I think maybe because I actually realized that I always say that law and justice are two completely different things. So obviously, being within that system, I actually got to see that what everyone out here sees as the legal system and fairness and justice and whatever isn't always so just, right? And so when I realized that actually sometimes I'd have to prosecute people that I believed that was innocent for whatever reason, or, you know, or vice versa, that made me feel uncomfortable. So I was like, right, I couldn't really live with that. So that was one of the reasons I never went fully down that path. But then upon leaving the CPS after 11 years of doing that, I was run off my bike, and then woke up. Well, no, it wasn't after I left. Before I left, I was run off my bike. I thought to myself, oh my God, I could have died without having lived my purpose, basically, because I knew that being there wasn't my purpose, because I hadn't become a lawyer. I wasn't, you know, I was just doing admin, not admin, but I was doing operational work. So I was doing project management and stuff, you know, organizational stuff that helped and was quite high level, but it wasn't really lighting my soul on fire. And I thought I could have died as this person who wasn't happy. And so after that, I decided and put things in place to make sure that I was going to leave as soon as I possibly could, which just so happened it was about 8 months later when they offered redundancy. So I took the redundancy. I had no clue what I was going to do. I just knew that I was going to go out and do something. I tried a few things, paid out a lot of money doing a few things, until I went on a course which was for property. But the bit that really spoke to me was the marketing module within there. And again, the thing about advocating on behalf of other people really came up at that point, because I was like, if people knew how to share their messages, you know, this would change, you know, their businesses, it would change their lives, it would change the world ultimately. And I think even though what I'm doing now is publicity, it's still a branch of marketing. So I think the whole thing about communications is a really huge thing for me, because I realized the difference that communicating versus not communicating can make. And I realized the difference between knowing how to communicate well versus not communicating very well can have on relationships, on your business, on your money, on your self-esteem, on absolutely everything. Like, communication is at the heart and foundation of absolutely everything. So this is why I get so excited speaking to someone like you, because, you know, as a singer and a coach and a trainer, like you and, you know, as you talk about the vocal code, like, you know exactly how important it is to have a voice, and a voice that works in the way that it needs to and communicates what it needs to. So yeah, this is really exciting to me.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, because as I said to you and the viewers out there, when I hear voices, I see shapes. And one of the first shapes that I saw when it comes to your voice is an umbrella. And it shows me you are the type of person who advocates for other people. Your umbrella is huge, and you bring other people underneath it, whether they're your clients or not. So it's an incredibly supportive role that you play in people's lives, to bring people shelter and help. And the other interesting thing about your vocal is that you have the type of voice that goes this way. It's very directional. Some people's voice is soft. Some other people have a lot of mystery around their voice. Your voice, it penetrates and it lands. And when there's a lot of safety to be had in that type of voice, because when you've got somebody like you advocating for people, they know that you're going to advocate for them with the utmost of, you're going to do everything that you can to help them. And it also means that your voice has got a lot of natural authority in it, a lot of naturally commanding voice, not too much, but enough to get people's attention. And that's really important in the work that you do. So those are the things that I've kind of discerned about your voice so far. So what is it that you would love for the people? So as a natural advocate for people, when you see people's following, when you see people's social media and their following and their posts and things like that, and you kind of read through, and as a PR person, I'm sure that you're thinking, you know, they could do more of this or less of that. What is it that you would love for people to know about themselves in order for them to be the global influencers that they could be?
Wow, God, you are good at this questioning thing. You ever thought about being a journalist? Seriously, what is it that I wish people could know if I was looking through, as I'm looking through their stuff? I think there are a couple of things. I think it would be difficult to say there was one thing in particular, but it's, funnily enough, I think one of the first things that came to me was that people can read your energy. People can read between the lines, so they can read if what you're saying is actually coming from an honest place or you're trying to bluff yourself. I think what's quite funny very often is when you see people who we see as being authoritative, very often they are giving you an insight into exactly what's going on in their mind. They're kind of marketing it as something to share with you and to help you as a reader or as an audience member. But what they're actually doing is kind of processing their own stuff themselves. So a good example of this is somebody who will, you know, maybe go out and have a little bit of a rant about the way, you know, certain people are, or the way certain things are in society, or even somebody who has a tendency. So a better example of it actually would be somebody who will go out and talk about how amazing life is for them, how much they love this and they love that, and everything is just so great, and without sort of tempering it with any kind of sort of humility or any kind of whatever. What that usually means is they don't actually feel that that is so great. It's like almost like they feel like they need to, they're convincing you in order to kind of convince themselves that what they're going through is great. And that tends to happen a lot, I find, particularly on social media. I think people forget that because of which again, I suppose is almost like why Facebook was invented, because of the barrier between, in the same way that, you know, you as a performer or in that industry will know what it feels like to be trolled or to have people trying to judge you, you know, based on what it is that you do and how you put yourself out there, is the same way that I suppose people don't really understand necessarily that it's very easy to read energy. It's very easy to pick up what somebody isn't. It's very easy to look between the lines and pick up what someone isn't saying. And also it's very easy to let your guard down in that arena, because actually what you've got is a screen between you and the person and the other person that you're communicating with. So very often you will be delivering your messaging or what it is that you're trying to say in a way that is less guarded than you would do if you were in front of that person, or if you were in front of like a live audience, so to speak. And it's quite interesting what you said, because we had a conversation obviously before we got on this call where you were talking about you know, barriers and boundaries, like you know, the boundaries are kind of become blurred. And I feel like social media has done that. I feel social media has blurred boundaries for people. And if there was a bit of advice I could give to people is like, you know, if you kind of wouldn't say it to somebody in person, it's probably a good idea not to say it in the way that you would say it, you know, out on social media. Because the thing is, once you put it out on social media, it's there for life, right? Especially if someone takes a screenshot of it, you might be able to delete it, but it's there for life. And as a publicist, one of the things that I will first do with a client is get them to go through, or I will go through, what they have said on social media for the past couple of years. Because we've all seen, you know, the thing that happened with Maya Jama, and there have been several other people. You know, I saw a video yesterday of Justin Bieber singing a racist song, you know, so there are all these things that are out there. So you've got to really be careful about what it is that you are putting out there, who it is that you would actually want to see it, and whether you would actually feel the same way about it if you were actually doing it face to face. That's one thing that I would like people to know.
That's amazing. And what you're talking about in terms of authenticity and vulnerability is something that I really do coach on, because every single performance, every single public speaking engagement is an energetic exchange between you and the audience, you and the audience, you and the audience. And your audience are listening beyond what you sound like, actually. They're listening beyond your technique and beyond your voice. And they are latching on to energy. They may not be able to articulate what that is, but they know it because they feel it. And it's so important to align yourself and be ready to just be open, be ready to be transparent and honest. And you don't have to tell it all, but you have to be able to be seen so that people can see themselves in you. It's just a, you know, a mirror reflective kind of work.
Totally. And just to add to that point that you've made about being, because it's really important what you said about vulnerability. And I know that you know this because of the work that you do, but there's vulnerability and there's vulnerability, right? And when you're putting yourself out there, because unfortunately, whether you like it or not, right, everything that somebody sees of you on social media or on a platform outside of your very closest circle all of it's a front to a degree, not necessarily that you're putting on a front, but it's a front. It's only a very small fraction of who you are as a person. A bit like as if you as a performer get up and sing a song, all that person knows is how you made them feel while you sang that song. They don't know behind the scenes, you know, can anyone say R. Kelly here, right? Because you know you've got a voice there, which is the voice of an angel, it's been described as, but then you've got a person behind that is something completely different to, you know, what this voice is belying. Maybe anyway, maybe if you'd have done a vocal code on him, you could have told us some things way back when. But anyway, possibly, right? But
Right.
but what I'm saying is it's only a part of what people see of you, and you've got to remember that. So when it comes to vulnerability, you've got to be. It's not about being careful. It's just about being sensible about the vulnerability that you are showing up. So for instance, you know, and it's also about knowing what your positioning is in the mind of the person that you're actually doing this with. Because when it's your friend or your boyfriend, you could cry your eyes out and you could get up and be fabulous, and they're not going to think any less of you. However, if all that somebody is seeing of you on social media or in the public is a certain persona, and then you break that with a type of vulnerability that doesn't fit in with that persona, you've damaged your persona. So if in terms of like giving advice to people and saying, you know, yes, vulnerability is cool and authenticity and all of that kind of stuff, but it needs to fit in with your brand. You need to find a way to make it fit in with your overall brand, and be careful about what it is that you're putting out there. And also what you want to do is make sure that you've built up a level of credibility before that, so that you're then able to bring in this layer of vulnerability. And the best way to describe it, and you're all going to think you may think it's a bit weird, but it's the way that I've described it with clients in the past, PR clients. You know, we like paradox. So we like, some of our greatest heroes are paradoxical, right? So you've got Jesus, who was the carpenter, but he was king, right? Like you couldn't get too further away on the spectrum. You've got the Madonna whore, right? So you've got this very virginal person versus the whore. And, you know, just as people, we really love paradox. Like you love it when a white man gets up and sings like a black man, right? Or we like it when we love that kind of, oh my God, he sounds like he's black kind of thing, you know, just for an example of that. We love that. And that's why, you know, or you love it when the person who looks like a down and out gets up and sings and they've got the voice of an angel. We love paradox, right? So all I'm saying is that if you're going to be managing your brand and how it is that you're putting yourself out there, be sure to have that paradox. So everyone, you can be this person who's up there, but make sure you show people you're down below as well. Show that you can be this amazing, badass, you know, money-making machine, but also show people that you're human. But make sure you build a level of credibility before you bring in that layer of vulnerability is probably the best bit of advice I can give to people who are looking to become an influencer. And also maybe the final bit of it is like, if you're going to influence, just make sure you've got a purpose behind this influence, right? Because there's no point, you know, what are you influencing people to do? Like, are you influencing people to just watch more social media? Are you influencing people to spend more time on Instagram feeling insecure about themselves? Or are you influencing them to become a better person? Are you influencing them to become a better singer? Are you influencing them to become a better business owner? Like, what are you actually influencing? And if you're really passionate about doing that, make sure that you're sure and you're grounded about what it is that you want to influence. So there's me.
That's amazing. And I love that. It's such a well-rounded piece of advice. And especially when you were talking about the paradox, I never would have considered that. But it's so true. Like X Factor thrives on paradox. Yeah. Like programs like that, they thrive on it. And I can see it so clearly now that you've said it, you know? So what I'm interested in is, so you've got this powerful voice, which kind of slices through nonsense as well. It's another thing. You enjoy helping people. You enjoy getting to the point. You enjoy advocating for their change, facilitating them to be and be the best that they can be. What I want to know is, have there been, or what are the objections that you have found in regards to doing all of the above? Have you found that people have, well, let me just put it out there. Have you found objections in terms, because you're such a powerhouse I'm curious as to whether you've ever had any objections to your strength or your ability to sift through really, really well in regards to this is correct, this is helpful, this is not helpful. Because I know that a number of women in the world have had that sort of objection. And I wondered if you'd ever experienced that.
Oh, totally, all the time. Nobody likes being told about their business, really, but they don't. But one of the, I think with clients, as time has gone on, so when I first sort of started out, you know, I was quite kind of meek and I'd allow people to kind of have their own way and do things. But what I found as time has gone on is actually I've got to be very particular about the kind of people that I will work with. So if we're talking about it from a client basis, I've got to be very particular about the clients that I will work with, because they do need to understand that I expect them to listen to me and I expect them to take my advice. And I'm not saying that that means that I'm always right about everything, but when it comes to managing them or helping them manage their profile and whatever it is, I am right, because I make it my business to be right, because this is what I you know, I study, this is what I know about the industry and about the media. So a good example of that will be, I did work with somebody once who had, remember I told you about the whole looking behind and seeing what they've done in social media land before. And I found some stuff that could have been proven controversial. Now, what people don't recognize is that while you are nobody, and when I say nobody, I mean it with the greatest respect, as in, like, if only people on social media know you and you're not very well known beyond your own little circle, what you've got online doesn't matter. The fact that you laughed at somebody's sexist, racist, whatever joke, nobody cares, right? Because it's a very small thing. It was last year, nobody cares. However, if you are planning on going global and you are planning on becoming well known and you are then finding yourself in top publications and you want to end up on, you know, I know Oprah doesn't probably do things, but you want to end up on Ellen's couch or something like that. If you think that you are going to get to that level without somebody looking in your background to see what you've done and where you've come from, and basically see if everything aligns with the image that they're trying to portray, right? Because everyone's trying to manage their image. So if you think that that's not going to happen, then you're sadly misguided. So I did have an incident where I was working with someone and said, look, we need to get rid of this. We either need to get rid of this, or better still, let's do something to talk about where you were in your life at the time when this conversation took place. And let's update this conversation and add some extra to it, so that when that time comes, which inevitably it will, if you get to the stage that you want to get to, we're ready, right? Because the thing that people don't like to do when it comes to PR is nobody likes to manage their reputation. No one likes to manage it, and no one likes to look at crisis management or plan for crisis management in advance of it happening. Everyone kind of just, and unfortunately, a bit like you said, social media has lowered the barrier to entry for loads of people to come in and do things. But what's happening is that people haven't been equipped in the same way that solid celebrities have been, in order to deal with what comes with what comes along as part of that, right? They're not equipped with, you know, reality TV stars are not ready to, are not equipped to deal with you know, being under a microscope all the time and stuff. You know, they're doing it as a means to an end. And I'm giving a perfect example of one person I met at a party, at a celeb party, and I spoke to this reality TV person, and they were like really digi, and I was like, what's wrong? And they were like, oh, I suffer from mad anxiety. You know, since they've been in the public eye, they suffer from mad anxiety because they've not been given the tools that are required in order to manage going from being this person who's just doing stuff at home to having their every move scrutinized, their relationship scrutinized, the way that they've spoken to their girlfriend, the way that they, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And that is one of the reasons that I've gone into doing the kind of PR that I do, because I know that there's a lot more emotionally. So the term that I've coined is like emotional stamina. I believe that people need to have emotional stamina to be in the public eye and to put themselves out there. And that's really something that not a lot of people are talking about. Although it's quite apparent that it's needed from the amount of suicides and stuff that we're having at the moment, in and people, mental health issues that we're having and stuff. So I think it's really, really important for people to listen to me when I say these things, because it goes deeper than just listen to me because I'm your publicist. So right. Yes, I have. The short answer to your question is I have had objections. So this person actually chose not to do what was advised, and then sort of that, along with something else, kind of meant that I said, look, I can't really work with you. If you're not going to work with me on this, then I can't really continue to work with you, because I know what I know. I know that this will come up and bite you on the bum. If we continue down the path, if you stop now, then that's fine. It may never come up. But if we continue down the path of, like, you know, global, right, this is going to come back and bite you on the bum. Mark my words. I know this. It's impossible for it not to, especially in the era that we're in now with, like, the Me Too and all of these movements. People are not having it anymore. Like, it literally is time's up for anything that kind of, you know, goes out of its way to offend people, or, you know, kind of subjugate people, or any of that kind of stuff. Like, you've really got to watch what, you know, take ownership for what it is that you're putting out there.
And this is the reason why you're so trustworthy to me. Because when you've got somebody like yourself who has so much experience, and you know what you know, you would do well to listen. You just would. You would do well to listen. And you can't get that kind of authority without that experience. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
It really is. And
no, I was going to say that's it. And, you know, it's very difficult to kind of, like, as I'm sure you find, you know, to sort of roll everything up into a ball and explain the extent of PR, because PR has bad PR, right? Because everyone thinks it's media relations. And what I mean by that is everyone thinks that PR is getting yourself into a top publication, getting as many of them as possible, getting loads of people interested. And then hopefully one day it's going to lead to a massive record deal, or, you know, your life changing in some way, shape or form. And in some instances, that is what happens. If we look at the, you know, like, you know, the choir that sang at Meghan Markle's and Prince Harry's wedding, like, you know, just that one opportunity, oh my God, it's gone insane. The person who did the DJing for them, blown up as well. Like, so there's all, and the, you know, obviously the cellist, I think it was, all of these things. So there is a part of PR that is about that, being in the right place at the right time for that one opportunity to blow yourself up into the stratosphere. But then it's like, what have you got in place before that? And what are you going to have in place after that, right? Because you need to be able to deal with it on both sides. You either need to be ready for when that comes, and when it does come, you also need to be ready to deal with what comes after that. What's the aftermath of that? And so those are the bits where it's more difficult, I find, to explain to people, or where I will get objections from people, like you said, around what it is that needs to be done. So I might say to someone, you need to make sure X, Y, and Z is in place, because if you blow up tomorrow, your website's going to crash because you haven't got the capacity to deal with these people that come through. And they may be like, well, I didn't think I have to pay for a publicist as well as think about my website. Well, I can't help that. That is actually something that happens. I had a client previously that went viral, and I was like, this is likely to go viral. And if it does, you are going to need to make sure that some stuff is in place in order to deal with the what comes of this. It went insane. They didn't have the support in the background in order to be able to move forward with that. And they also weren't in a place to sort of move forward, you know, with everything, which I found was really, really sad, actually. So this is why I'm now very rigid about who I will work with now, because I already know from a personal experience and also just my personal knowledge what will work and what won't work. And just getting yourself blowing up big is just part of the story.
Yeah. Oh man, what you've said is so powerful. You know, the prep work, and then the post work, and then the work in the middle, like this little work sandwich that you've just got to do. You can't get, you know, around it. And I love that you care about people so much that you are ready to really support them beyond what the publicity looks like, because you have to be able to manage and have that emotional stamina, as you mentioned. And I love that you brought that up, because it's the reason why I started the company. I was on tour, and I've said this story millions of times. I was on tour with one of the world's most famous still artists in the world, and I noticed that they were feeling very, we were in Utah, about to go on stage, and I noticed that they were a bit digi, and I wasn't really sure. But anyway, after the show had finished, one of the other band members revealed to me that this person, who is now, you know, admitted to the world, that they suffer with stage fright. And I thought to myself, well, if they can suffer with stage fright, then anybody can. And it's the reason why I wanted to support recording artists, because there are so many. And just the other day, you know, a well-known management company reached out to me in regards to one of their artists, because you guys would faint at the amount of anxiety and nervousness and depression that is happening behind the scenes. And people buy into an image, and the image is true. You know, you've got these artists that are spectacularly talented. You know, we all love talented people. We love how it feels, we love how it sounds, but there is definitely a back end that people are not seeing. And it really is one of my missions in life to support recording artists and any kind of performer, whether you're speaking or singing, to be emotionally robust, so that you have that resilience that you were talking about, that stamina. And it's so important to have boundaries. You know, I'm recalling people like Kerry Washington, who, you know, we didn't even know she had 3 kids. Who knew Kerry Washington had 3 children, you know, because she chooses what she puts out there. And, you know, you've got people who post on Instagram and they turn off their comments so people can't comment. And it's about having those type of boundaries as well as really building yourself up. And the other thing that I would like to say to viewers out there, and I mentioned it on another interview, and it's, if you're going to hire a coach, if you're going to hire a mentor, it's because you trust them. If you trust them, people in internet land, do what they say, even if it doesn't resonate. Do what they say. What they are saying is not designed to resonate with who you are now. That's the point. Yeah. You are hiring them to move you forward into the place that you need to be. So what they are saying resonates with that place, not the place that you are in now. So make sure that when you hire your coach, when you hire your mentor, that you are prepared to do whatever they say. Because you want that quantum leap. Everybody wants that moment in life where everything just starts to turn around, and it really does require deep listening and responding. So I'm really grateful for you, my love. I'm grateful for all the work that you are doing. I am so grateful that you have joined me here today. I'm thankful that you said yes to having this conversation with me. I appreciate you so much. And I cannot wait to see what else you are going to create, what you're going to help your clients to create. And yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for having me here. This has been a fantastic conversation. And I really feel that the gems that anyone who's watching this after, you know, after the effects are going to get from this, I think is just awesome. So yeah, like I said, definitely perfect for anyone who is thinking about launching themselves into the public eye. Obviously, on your side, it's the performance, you know, the performance of any sort. And on my side, it's like anyone who wants to be out there as an influencer. So yeah, I'm really actually happy with this video. And I didn't even know which direction it would go in once we started speaking. But like, obviously what has come out is what is needed at this time.
Yes, I'm really happy with this conversation too. So where can people in the internet land find you?
Right, I am one of these people who is as simple as possible. So I literally live my life on Facebook for the time being. So if you want to find me, please hit me up on Facebook. It is Brenda Gabriel, and you'll find a picture of me smiling with grey hair. So that's where you can find me, basically on Facebook. That's where I connect with everybody, keeps things simple. I do have an Instagram account. If you want to, you can find me there at Brenda Gabriel Official. And that's about it.
Amazing. All right, so just stay on the line. I'm going to stop recording in a minute. But viewers, thank you for watching this conversation. You can get Brenda on all of her handles, Facebook primarily, Instagram. You can get at me on Facebook and Instagram also. And also you can connect with me on my website, which is myvocaltherapy.com. / coaching for speakers, or / coaching for singers, or / signed artists. The 3 levels of coaching that you can connect with me on. And I'll speak to you soon. See you later.